You know what? I'm done with WWE. The Rock didn't show up at all for WrestleMania. I'm just not going to watch anymore. Randy Orton is John Cena's first WWE title program? Well, that's not going to work on me, WWE. I lived through the never-ending Orton versus Cena years. That's not going to bring me back. Becky Lynch immediately loses title and turns heel. Well, you've rushed that, haven't you? You've rushed that at the expense of Bayley, and it's just coming off as desperate from all the Becky Hogan criticism. JD McDonough returns to save Dominik Mysterio. That's good he's recovered. Sami Zayn teases turning heel on Jey Uso. Well, that's pretty interesting. Rusev is back. I remember him. And Bron Breakker is the newest Paul Heyman guy in a new top heel faction with Seth Rollins. Yes, that is amazing. Bron Breakker is one of my Wait, no! You're trying to trick me into forgetting that The Rock didn't show up at WrestleMania. Honestly, Levesque, I don't think you understand how damaging that was. Cena's heel turn wasn't just built on Cena turning heel. Its inciting incident was joining forces with the heel Rock. That's decades of backstory feeding into that relationship, which is what made it so incredibly great. Two of the biggest stars in wrestling history together as an unstoppable evil force. We did not get on board with this to see Travis Scott. You can try whatever you want, Hunter, but we are done. And Gunther choked out Pat McAfee. Son of a bitch, I'm back in. I'm Ollie Davis, and this is my review of the Raw After Mania episode of Monday Night Raw. Did I say that right?
Support WrestleTalk!
Part of John Cena's TV entrance now seems to include several seconds of expectation before the music hits. It's a great example of what Cena's heel presentation is all about, doing more with less. Like his brilliantly plain Titantron video, which he's keeping as just his name in white letters on a black background. Even his nameplate graphic was boring. After getting the ring announcer to redo his introduction, as the first one was disrespectful, continuing the trolling personality he set up in his post-Mania interview, he opened with the line, "Winners write history," before criticising the crowd for cheering him now after they booed him on Friday. This is not a functional relationship, and he roasted the Raw After Mania crowd for going soft, spelled S-W-A-F-T. But ultimately, the fans don't mean anything to him. The only thing that matters right now is the number 36, which appeared in that same plain white font on the Tron's black screen. That is how many dates he said he had at the start of the year. And time, it goes quicker than you think. He's done the Rumble, he's done the Chamber, he did the European tour, he did 2 nights of WrestleMania. He's here right now, and with every date he said he'd done, the number on the screen counted down by 1, leaving 27 dates left before, in Cena's words, the professional wrestling timeline stops. It's a brilliantly over-the-top line that appeals greatly to my comic book-loving heart. Talking about timelines ending feels more suited to your latest favourite Disney Plus Marvel show that, trust me, you've got to get through the first 9 episodes before it starts to get good, than a pro wrestling storyline. Makes me think he's talking ideas with his DC director James Gunn in the coolest WhatsApp chat of all time. But the true masterstroke of simply having a giant number on the Tron is this. The WWE Universe now has a ticking clock. It's one of the most effective tension-building tools in writing. The need for someone to beat Cena will get more and more urgent as that number goes down, clearly signposting an epic final date conclusion later in the year. Really hope that on one episode he just walks down to the ring, watches the date count down by 1, and then just leaves without even cutting a promo. It means we'll have a queue of top WWE stars trying to defeat Cena, which starts with a Randy Orton from out of nowhere, who RKO'd John as he posed for the belt. It'd be negligence to not run this feud, as Randy is one of Cena's most, what's the right word there? Enduring opponents. And Backlash is in Orton's St. Louis hometown. I'm hoping for CM Punk at Money in the Bank for the PLE after, where Cena can blow a kiss after he retains and escapes through the crowd. There is still an enormous rock-shaped hole in this storyline, but I think a missing Rock is better than an actually here Travis Scott. So let's just assume we're never seen either again, and let's move on. Before I get into the rest of the episode though, you can relive the whole Rock vs John Cena feud from 2011 to 2013 if you dare, in mine and Luke's epic 8-episode 32-hour-long series on their rivalry. You can watch that all now on patreon.com/WrestleTalk, along with all of this.
It's Viscera!
Do you want more WrestleTalk videos? From $6.50 a month, you can get exclusive series of Monday Night War,
You can imagine a sacrifice being made at the top of this WrestleMania stage.
Tables, Lists and Chairs, WrestleTalk Extra, and more.
So I just don't want anyone to get out.
Oh, what's the end of that sentence?
Get all that by joining us over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk now.
Support WrestleTalk!
In a title rematch from WrestleMania, the first actual match on Raw saw Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria defend their freshly won women's tag belts against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I actually enjoyed this one way more than their Mania encounter, and the crowd popped huge when they realised Liv was going to hit an Oblivion on Lyra for the Judgment Day to win back the belts. Becky looked disheartened afterwards but hugged Lyra to then clothesline her and turn heel, which the fans cared so much about, they chanted, "One more time." This isn't a case of fans disrespecting an angle. It's a case of terrible storytelling from WWE. We've seen so many times that if WWE takes the time and care over investing the audience into characters and their relationships, we will be appropriately shocked or heartbroken when splits eventually happen, if they ever happen at all under Paul Levesque. But Becky just showed up at Mania Night 2, won the belts with Lyra, then lost them the next night and turned heel. These are all surface-level moments. There is zero substance for us to sink our teeth into. It's high spots with no meaning. I assume Bayley will avenge Lyra on her return, but what could be far more interesting is the newly heel Becky joining Heyman's group with Seth as the Heyman. After Karrion Kross gave the New Day a nod of approval backstage, which was a good callback, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston demanded we all thank God for the New Day being tag team champions in the ring, and showing how seriously WWE are now going to take them and Raw's tag division. Alpha Academy came out as the first challengers. This was all actually just a setup for Rusev to make his return to squash Akira Tozawa and Otis. Again, this was mostly just done as a moment, so it might not be indicative of what WWE will book for the New Day and Rusev going forward, but it didn't feel like much will change for Kofi and Woods. And Rusev feels destined for Andrade levels of undercard. I've got to admit, I was still salty about The Rock during Cena's promo. I'm not into what Becky's doing at all at the moment, and I was cynical about Rusev's return. The first hour didn't really click for me. Thankfully, from that point onwards, I feel like WWE put on a perfect Raw after Mania show. The comeback began with an impromptu match of NXT Women's Champion Stephanie Vacquer challenging WWE Women's Champion IYO Sky. They had a really good match with Vacquer starting to work over IYO's knee with a dragon screw. There was a Spanish fly off the top rope from Sky, and the crowd lightly started to chant, "Fight forever." Joke's on you, because these are two champions of WWE's top brands. Hunter isn't going to book one of them to lose on TV. What do you think the titles are? The TNA World Championship? Roxanne Perez charged IYO for the DQ, and then heel Julia attacked Vacquer as a good follow-up angle from Stand and Deliver. Rhea Ripley then made the save and handed IYO's belt back to her, setting up them as the next title program, as Ripley was never pinned at WrestleMania. After an excellent video package recapping his career, Jey Uso then got a big title celebration yeet entrance. I'm both happy for him and totally not into it at the same time, but I am always into Sami Zayn. Sami made his return after 8 weeks out to say he had to be the first to look Jey in his eyes and say, "I'm proud of you." It was a lovely moment for one of the most hard-won friendships in the company, which made the brief glance where Sami seemed to jealously look at Jey behind his back, and the crowd did a sharp intake of breath expecting yet another heel turn, for everything to be totally fine. Jimmy came out to celebrate too, expertly diffusing the tension. There was a lot to love on this episode, but that was my favourite thing on the whole show. But tied for second place is Gunther choking Pat McAfee to death. In an excellent angle, WWE came back from break with Gunther shouting at Michael Cole. Cole said it's not his fault he tapped out, so Gunther grabbed Cole to choke him out. McAfee made the save, so Gunther choked Pat to death instead, and didn't let go despite loads of officials and Pat's podcast mates from ringside trying to break them up, all with no commentary because both commentators were being attacked. I'd actually fantasy booked an angle like this a month ago as a way to make the Gunther vs. Jey feud better, as Pat kept on cheering the Uso. Most awesomely though was Adam Pearce telling Cole backstage to take time off to recover, where Cole replied like a badass, saying he's not going to let some bully stop him from doing his job. It was amongst the coolest Cole has ever looked, which admittedly is a low bar, but it was so well done, and Joe Tessitore scrambling to help replace Pat on commentary without even a tie made it feel all the more realistic. I'm assuming Gunther was paid off by Corey Graves here. More heel factions. Karrion Kross shouted at AJ Styles backstage, showing Karrion's shoot promo from the Post-Mania podcast is definitely a work. Dirty Dom had his first Intercontinental title defense next against Penta, with both Finn Balor and Carlito at ringside. Yeah, Finn Balor, the guy who Dom pinned to win the title the previous night. You'd think that would cause him to leave the faction, but he told the gang earlier on, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yay! Even longer term storytelling with the Judgment Day. Finn wasn't very effective though, so JD McDonough had to make his return from injury to help Dom retain. With just 15 minutes of the show remaining, Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman came out for their first promo since their shocking Night 1 heel turn angle. Seth had the same annoying music, stupid glasses and garish costume choice, but thankfully he seems to have dropped his laugh and vocal inflections, or he started to cut a promo with the low delivery of his authority era. Didn't get very far though, as CM Punk ran down to beat him up for Seth to stomp him. Heyman declared Rollins as the top star in the industry when Roman Reigns' music hit. That Roman isn't immediately on a 3-month holiday post-WrestleMania might have actually been the biggest shock of the show. Roman took out Seth and Superman punched Heyman for a man in a hoodie to appear in the ring, but it wasn't Roman's father's nephew's former roommate. It was Bron Breakker. First, there was confusion, but when Breakker speared Punk too, it was obvious. Bron is the newest Paul Heyman guy, following up on Heyman endorsing Bron in NXT 2.5 years ago. And this isn't just a two-man power trip, it's a full-on heel faction. We could get Roman and Punk teaming together to take on Seth and Bron. We could get a battle of the spears between Breakker and Reigns. And long-term, Bron could be the Batista breakout babyface to eventually turn on Rollins. There are many incredibly exciting directions WWE can go in here. That's what the new season feel of a Raw after Mania should be about. Angles and cliffhangers where you can't wait to see what happens next. This year's Raw after Mania was just a great wrestling match shy of perfection at 90%. Now click the video on screen now to watch my review of WrestleMania 41 Night 2, where The Rock, yeah, he ruined wrestling,